All right. Hello. So Johnny will be on probably in a few minutes. He's running a little bit late, so I'm going to bring him on as soon as he's here. And then Anthony Irwin, Carnivore Sensations, is also going to be on shortly as well. So I'm kind of kicking it off here tonight by myself for a few minutes. So go ahead and say hi in the comments. If you have a question, put a capital Q in the front so that we know there's a question. And then we'll get started with the things as we go. So let's see. I see Anthony is here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Anthony in right now.
What's up, buddy?
All right. How you doing?
Man, I was all combockled, man. I was assuming it was 8 p.m. my time, and I was sitting there just chilling, and you're like, no, in a few minutes. I'm like, oh, shoot. Yeah.
That's okay. Johnny's going to be on with us too. He's running a few minutes late, so I'm going to bring him in as soon as he's here.
Oh, right on. Is this already fired up or what?
Yep, we are live. So
we're live.
We got a few people on already watching us.
Oh, hello, crowd. How you doing? Everybody groovy? Cool. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing pretty good. So I got a question for you. From the last time we talked, I noticed that you've been starting to work out. How's that going?
It's going pretty peachy. I got through my journey here and whatnot. I've done a lot of damage to my muscles and all that kind of good stuff. Like especially with my right arm, my left leg. I have a lot of rehab to do on them, and so like to put it in perspective, like my right arm is my 10-year-old son can literally outpower me. Not now, but he could when I first started this stuff. It's going really well, slowly, but that's to be expected. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Johnny and we don't have any questions yet or anything, why don't you kind of tell everybody a little bit about your story? Because I know it's a pretty incredible story, how much weight you've lost and everything, and the health benefits you've had. So maybe do like a somewhat of an abbreviated, telling of your story, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it started out a long time ago. My oldest daughter, she's 18. So, and this pretty much all started right before she was born. So 18 years. I was a pretty normal dude. And I gained a bunch of water weight. At first, a large amount. It turned from that into me being immobilized and still eating the way I did. I had a high physical job, and eating that way, you're not be able to be active or any of that kind of stuff. You put on a lot of weight, a lot of fat. And it went from that, I suppose about 220, 230 pounds. My max weight shot up to 713 pounds. With that being said, that was kind of the way of life for a long time. I used to have to wrap myself in compression wraps from the tips of my toes up to my mid waist to keep the fluid and all that kind of good stuff to a manageable level, I would say, but it was never really manageable. But I was always mobile. Within that time span, I've had, kidney failure. I was in protein positive for multiple myeloma, diabetes, like all sorts of stuff, California's gangrene. When I started the carnivore diet and stuff like this was a little over 3 years ago. I was literally on my deathbed with Fournier's gangrene. That has like a 13% chance survival rate. If you don't know what it is, look it up. I'm not going to explain it here. It's pretty graphic. There's no way to, what do you say, beat around the bush or to to dull it down to explain what it is. So if you want to know, just look it up. Had the surgeries and all that kind of good stuff, and to put it short, I never. I have kids, and like my oldest is 18, and then I got a 13-year-old just turned 13, then a 10-year-old boy. One of them was a stepdaughter. I never really wanted them or thought that saying this stuff is really hard for me because I take it really personally, and this is kind of the whole cause of me doing this kind of stuff. So if I start to get emotional or whatever, just look past it. You would. I never thought about them growing up not having their dad, or my grandkids not knowing who their granddad is, and I know that if that happened, that would be my fault. It wouldn't be something I could put the blame on or justify was something else, or it would be surely and utterly my fault. And my kids, you know, my parents are gone, and they passed away when my kids were just young, and they never really knew who their grandparents really were or any of that kind of stuff. And I seen how it affected them. And you think that for people that they've, you know, never met or whatever the case might be, it shouldn't affect them, but it does. It affects them a lot. And I guess I never wanted that to put that burden on them, you know what I'm saying? And so I can't remember where I seen the carnivore diet or how I heard about it or whatever. I just remember, I know I heard it in the hospital and all that kind of stuff, and I just made a decision that I was going to try it. And it wasn't something that I dipped my toes in, or I was like, maybe I'll just try a little bit of extra of this. It was 100% full bore. And that decision, you know, it pretty much, it gave me a new life. It let me be a dad again and all that kind of good stuff. So it helped me in all the ways that, I don't know, you would say that you needed help in, and I didn't even know it. So it's definitely been a blessing, man. So that was the short version of it. Yeah.
All right. So while you were talking, Johnny was able to join us. So we got Johnny here. Hello.
What's up, Johnny, man?
Hey, how you doing, my friend? My apologies for being late.
I was late too.
Appreciate you covering for me. There was a wreck on a 2-lane road that I live on, and it was on a bridge, and there's no way to get around it. Nobody was hurt, but it's a 2-lane road with no shoulder, so the wreckers couldn't get there to move the cars. So there we sat for about an hour and 10 minutes. So my apologies for being late. It won't happen again.
That's what they all say. That's what they all say, Johnny. It'll never happen again. No.
Yeah. Never happen again.
So I just had Anthony kind of give us a quick rundown of his story. I've interviewed him before on my channel, and if you want to check out the full story, that's like probably 45 minutes long. You can find that on the channel. But anyway, so he just gave us a quick rundown of, you know, what he's accomplished and so forth. He's had a lot of weight loss, had a lot of health issues, improved a lot of different things. He's still struggling, working through some things and so forth. Anyway, so get everybody up to speed here. It does seem kind of slow so far this evening. We got a few people online, but if anybody wants to say hi in the chat or have a question, go ahead and put it in there. If you have a question for Anthony, or even for Johnny or I. So let me ask, well, first of all, Johnny, do you have any questions that you had for Anthony?
Yeah, Anthony, I apologize for missing the opening part of your story, but briefly, when did you start carnivore? How long ago?
It'd be about a little over 3 years now that I've been doing carnivore. Yeah. Well,
So you may have already said this.
Go ahead.
So you may have, I'm sorry, you may have already said this, but has there been anything? I mean, obviously we know about the weight loss and the improved mental health, but has there been anything that was been kind of odd that improved that maybe you didn't expect to improve? Something that kind of surprised you?
If you can take anything about a person like just a normal average person, and if you look at them and then in an instant change them into something completely different for the positive, to me that's putting in perspective of what's happened for me in literally every aspect of an individual. For me has changed. Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, we did. Well, he's
What
still here. We just
happened?
lost his video. We just lost his video. He's still here, I think. I don't know if he can hear us. I don't know what happened there. So we'll see if he
If
gets
you're
back.
talking, Johnny, we can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah. So let's see. Is there any topic that you wanted to talk about tonight, Anthony?
Nothing specific. I guess when I do these kind of things, it's more or less we just talk about things, and whatever comes up comes up. Like it could all vary for me personally. We can talk about whatever you guys talk about. I'm pretty well versed when it comes to things. So,
all right. I think Johnny might be back, but I think it's a frozen screen. Are you actually there, Johnny? Yeah, I think it's a frozen screen, so I'm not sure what happened there. All right. So let's dive into something here. So first of all, I want to put it out there because we lost him completely. Anyway, I always bring this up anytime I talk to you. You've got a Facebook group out there that is free for anybody to join. It's called Carnivore Sensations. Let me see. I should be able to actually put this up here. Let me Sensations. And we'll add and show. So here we go. Right there. Carnivore Sensations. You can just type that into Facebook. You'll find his group. And I gotta tell you, Anthony is probably the most stand-up guy I have ever met. Like, he tries to help everybody that's in that group. So let's talk a little bit about what things you try and do to help people that are first getting started and so forth on the carnivore diet. And here's Johnny back. I'm bringing him back in. There we go.
Oh, here it comes. There he is.
I won't touch anything else. Every time I touch something, something goes haywire. So I'm going to keep my hands to myself.
Good. No, are you talking about if I help somebody with the carnivore diet? Is that what you're saying? Somebody that's new?
Yeah. So let's say somebody new joins the group or whatever, or they just reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to start the carnivore diet. How do I get started?" How would you get them going?
Well, first of all, first things first is that I want to make this clear to everybody. And everybody is different, man. Like, yes, the carnivore diet is simple. It should be theoretically easy to follow it, and most of the times it is. But you need to understand as well, everybody is different from one another. What I do will be completely different versus what you do or somebody else. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. But most of the times, the base principle of a carnivore diet should remain the same for everybody. And what I mean by that is that when you do a carnivore diet, the whole purpose of it is to basically rid your body of the AKA bad stuff or whatever the case might be, and to basically switch your body over to a different fuel source. Can we all agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And And so when that happens, you need to understand that there's pluses to it and there's minuses to it. Okay, we can sit here all day long and we can talk about all the positive things that come out of a carnivore diet. What's the negative things that come out of a carnivore diet when you first start out? Well, for number one, your body's going to go through a lot of shit, or just to put it blunt with you, and that's okay, and that's to be expected. As long as you expect it, you can minimize a lot of things that come along with it. Like diarrhea, all that kind of good stuff, the flu, keto flu that people talk about, that kind of stuff, it can all be minimized. Now, when I start somebody off, I start them off cutting literally everything out besides the bare essentials. Okay, when you think about meat and all that kind of good stuff, what is the cleanest meat that you can think of to consume? You guys know.
I would say it has to be beef.
How about you, Johnny?
Grass finished, yeah.
What's that?
Grass-fed, grass-finished beef.
Okay, so we can both we can all agree on beef. So this is what I do. I let them basically pick 3 meats. Okay, 3 beef products. Now, what that product is completely up to you. Now, if I tell them, if you're going to be on a deserted island and you had a choice to eat these 3 meats for the rest of your life, what would they be that for damn certain that you could eat and not get sick of? And might I add, you can substitute one of the beefs for meat or for eggs. Okay. Now, a lot of the times, just theoretically, someone picks like a ribeye, hamburger, and eggs. Okay. Now, you need to understand when someone starts this off, that you're going to consume the normal diet way more than you ever will on a carnivore diet. Like if someone ate what I ate on a daily basis and tried to sustain themselves, they would be insanely hungry all the time. Now, I say this because I fast every single day, and my stomach has shrunk from ginormous to small. It really doesn't take much to fill me up at all. And eating a standard American diet on the quantities of food you can eat is pretty massive. Now that I look at things and look at people, the way they eat and the quantity that they can eat, it's absolutely massive. And it actually kind of turns my stomach to a degree, but I got to understand what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so there's ways when they start this out that I have them eat their 3 meats for X amount of time. And the reason why I do that is because there's a lot of psychological addiction going on when it comes to consuming food or sugars or whatever the case may be. A lot of people don't realize or understand sugar is a very addicting substance. It's equal or more addicting than heroin. So when people talk about, drug addicts or addicted to alcohol or addicted to cigarettes or whatever, there's no person out there that is indifferent from one another. It's just what you do is basically the key, but people, don't understand that. And when you quit eating the way that you do, you're going to get withdrawals. And what kind of withdrawals you get, that varies from person to person, I would assume. And so those are the kind of the first steps that, I take approach to when someone doesn't have a clue about eating carnivore or what it's about. I'm a firm believer of giving someone the right information and to be as real as absolute possible. I come from a place doing carnivore that probably 95% of people on this planet don't come from. And when I think about it, when I hear about things, I want it to come from a source that is from experience, not second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth hand knowledge. I want someone to actually have experienced what they're talking about and been through and completed and succeeded in what they're talking about. Because if they haven't, then you're just not the person for me to talk to, and I would suggest that for anybody. Yeah, so that's basically the quick rundown of the start off of it, but it includes a lot more stuff when starting off. The start off is the most important by far.
Yeah. All right. So Johnny, let's change topics here quickly and see, do you have any kind of an update that you can give us on how your exercise has been going? It's possible I've missed a couple of videos this week because I tell you, this has been a crazy week for me, but I haven't seen any updates this week. Have I just missed them, or has there not been an update?
My problem, Brian, it's one of those double-edged swords. It's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, about 13 hours each day. That doesn't leave a whole lot of time for filming videos, editing, and getting them up. So I have these periods where I work 4 or 5 days consecutively, and I usually leave my house at 8. I get home at 10 at night. So it's usually a 14-hour day. So that's why there's gaps in some of my uploading videos. However, I just uploaded one a couple hours ago, actually, maybe a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours ago. And I just looked, it's already got like 85 views. I try to keep my videos between 8 and 12 minutes long. I don't want to tie somebody up for 30 minutes. I try to say what I got to say. I love to show my exercise. My latest obsession, believe it or not, Brian, has been AI music. I never was a fan of artificial intelligence. I'm still not really a fan, but a younger person that I work with showed me this AI music generator, and I typed in there, I'm 58 years old. I love to run sprints and lift weights, and I'm just trying to stave off old age. And I hit go, and it made like 10 unbelievably good songs. So I'm starting to use those songs and put behind my workouts in my videos, because I've actually been going and finding copyright-free music to use behind my exercises. And I've gotten 2 copyright. I didn't get strikes, but they demonetized my video. Even though the song was copyright-free, the artist wouldn't let you monetize it. So using this AI music generator and paying for the music, I'm able to use that music and not have to worry about getting demonetized. So that video came out a little earlier. I'll just let the cat out of the bag. I bought a new impedance scale. I kind of referenced something that you're doing in the video, Brian. Hopefully you'll get a chance to watch it. But, the gist of my video, and maybe Anthony can speak to this, some of the people that he's worked with, and maybe his own experience. And you'll see this in all the carnivore Facebook groups. I'm in yours, Brian. Of course, I'm in several of them. And people will start the carnivore diet, and 2 or 3 weeks in, they haven't lost any weight, and they get discouraged, and they throw their hands up and they say, well, this didn't work for me. And so the point of today's video is talking about what might be going on inside your body. And Brian, you've referenced this a lot in your last couple of videos. You could be losing fat and gaining muscle and bone density. So you're healing, you're getting better, but the scale's not moving. So I talk about that in the video. And I've had this Renfo impedance scale. I got off Amazon for $30 like 5 years ago. And it actually does a pretty good job. But I've seen a lot of ads, Facebook ads and YouTube ads for this thing called the Bod Pod or the Body Pod from a company called Hume Health. And I bought one of those and I used it today. And then I compared the results from the Renfo to the Bod Pod or the Body Pod. And I show that on my video. And it's pretty interesting. Both are excellent tools. I mean, the Bod Pod was $200, so it was a little expensive, but I'll use it in my videos and track my progress. So that's why I didn't mind spending the money. But the Renfo, the $30 Renfo, which you can get off Amazon, really does a pretty good job of showing you, even though the scale's not moving, you may still be losing fat. Like to your point, Brian, you've only lost a couple of pounds, but your measurements speak for themselves. I mean, so I just took that. Some of you, I stole your idea, if you will, and kind of took it to the next level with the impedance scale and talk about that. But I think people give up too quickly on the carnivore diet. They think that they're going to lose 15 pounds in the first week. And the truth is they may be losing fat. They may be healing their liver, their kidneys, their pancreas. But the scale doesn't move because they're adding bone and they're adding muscle, which is what we want to do. So anyway, long-winded answer, but that's my latest video, and it just came out about 3 hours ago.
Okay.
Can I speak on a little bit about what you said there?
Sure.
Yep.
Now, people need to understand with the carnivore diet, it's much more than just losing weight. Losing weight to me is just a perk that comes along with the carnivore diet. When you talk about your weight stalling and all that kind of good stuff, 90% of the time, you're not, quote, stalling at all. Your body does miraculous things. And before, you need to understand your body does things in the concurrent things with itself. You know, people will ask me, well, you did this, you did that. Well, how do you do this? How do you do that? This is me. This is not you. What your body needs is totally different from what I need. 1,010%. There's going to be, I cannot tell you how many times my weight completely stopped abruptly, but I kept going with the carnivore diet exactly how I was. And wouldn't you know it, within X amount of time, the next day, and I'm not even exaggerating, I would lose 15, 20 pounds. Just like that in the blink of an eye. A lot of people say, oh, you're full of shit. No, I'm really not. Like, your body does things the way your body needs to. There's a lot of healing. There's a lot of things your body is doing on a molecular level that you just don't know. And to put it, like, I'm going to put it with me. The biggest hurdle I'm going over right now is with my kidneys. I went from an EGFR of 3 to I think it's either almost 50 or a little over 50 right now. And this has taken me 3 years to accomplish. And this is just what my body needs. So now my weight right now is stalled out at 203 pounds. Can I gain weight? Yes. Can I lose weight? I don't think I could lose another pound if my life depended on it. It's just how your body is operating and what it needs and what it doesn't need. So people need to understand this is the closest you're going to come to a magic wand being waved and weight coming off healthy like. But still, you have to be patient. You have to be knowledgeable. Information is key to know what you're doing and to what to expect when expecting. Basically, it's kind of like with the book all dudes read and families read when you're going to have a baby and stuff. It's the same thing. Knowledge is so important, and where you get that knowledge from, just be fruitful about it, if you will. If you see something outlandish, this kind of goes with the saying, if it sounds a little too good, like if you see somebody, oh, I'm going to eat a stick of butter and I'm going to lose 500 pounds. No, dude, listen, common sense goes a long ways when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. And to reinforce what you both were talking about, in terms of your body is going to lose it when your body's ready, that type of thing. So with this workout transformation thing that I'm doing, the first 4 weeks, I lost 0.6 of a pound in 4 weeks. Last week, I lost 1.8 pounds, 2 pounds basically in 1 week. So that just shows you right there, like if I worried about the scale in those first couple of weeks, it didn't continue, then I wouldn't have seen what happened on week number 5, So yeah, I want to bring this up real quick. So you were talking about, starting people on 3 meats, and Charlie here was saying that he would do beef patties, ribeye steak, and brisket.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking, like, if I had 3 that I would pick, the 3 meats that I would do, this probably works perfect for me. I would do ribeye, New York strip, where I buy the loins and I cut my own, and I get that big fat cat piece in there, so I got the good fat, right? And then ground beef burger patties. That's pretty much what I do. I add eggs in sometimes, and that's it. And I mean, I'm almost 3 months or 3 years now myself, and it's pretty much what I do.
That's virtually what I did too. I can tell you exactly what I ate. I ate ribeyes, hamburger, and eggs. And I would substitute sometimes the ribeyes in for New York strip because it's a leaner meat. That's literally what I ate every day for the longest time. The only kind of spices I would use would be my salts and black pepper. That's it. But yeah, that's what I did. Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah,
how about you, Johnny? Do you stick?
Yeah, I here lately, Brian, and I didn't do this. This was not a conscious choice, but I've just been eating ribeye, ground beef, and eggs. And I'll tell you, Sam's and Costco both have the grass-fed, grass-finished beef for about $5.99 a pound. At Sam's, it comes in 3 1-pound packages that are kind of made together. You can just cut off, 1 pound at a time. Costco, they're 1.3 pounds per section, and it's grass-fed, grass-finished, and it's $6 a pound, which is a third of what ribeye cost. And then I go to Aldi, and Aldi has these little 10-ounce grass-fed, grass-finished ribeyes that are individually packaged, and they're, I don't know, $12.99 or $10.99 for a 10-ounce. And of course, I buy pasture-raised eggs, and just sitting here thinking about it as Anthony was talking, that's all I've had for like 6 weeks. I didn't even realize that. That's all I've eaten for probably 6 weeks because it's easy, it's affordable, it's convenient, and I love it. Oh, I've had bacon too. I do eat a lot of bacon. I have bacon and eggs for breakfast. If I eat, like here lately, I've been doing just one meal a day. Like yesterday and today, I had 6 eggs, 4 strips of bacon, and one of those 10-ounce ribeyes. And I did the ribeye in the air fryer. And the one thing that I've done this week that kind of surprised myself, and I just said, what the heck, I'm going to do it. I've cut out all seasonings except for Redmond's real salt. And I find myself using more and more salt on my meat and in my eggs. And every now and then I'd have a tinge of leg cramps because I run sprints, I jump rope, I do some distance running now. I do push-ups, I do lunges, all that stuff. And sometimes at night I would have tinges of cramps in my calf muscles. Since I've cut out all seasoning and increased the Redmond's real salt, and I've exercised more in the last week than I have in a while. I've really pushed it, and the leg cramps are completely gone. And I don't miss the other seasonings. I thought I would, but that Redmond salt and the natural flavor of the meat and everything is really satisfying. So I'm really kind of honing in my diet, and it's so. Even my wife, who doesn't do this diet at all, she said, your diet is so simple, so uncomplicated. Pasture-raised eggs, ground beef, and those little 10-ounce ribeyes. And if I was on a desert island and you gave me that, don't come get me. I'm fine.
Well, the cool thing about doing that is when you bring it down to that level, and if you can sustain it for a X amount of time, when you do decide to bring other elements into your diet, you can see exactly and feel exactly what it does to you. And so you'll know right away if it's a good thing for your body or if it's a bad thing. Now, I'll give you an example. The first thing that I tried to bring back in my diet is just because I love them is pickles, or not pickles, but cucumbers. Excuse me. I absolutely love cucumbers, man. Like before I did the carnivore diet, you could sit me in front of a basket of cucumbers and I'd pound every one of them damn things down with some salt. Like I just love them. I tried it. It made me so sick that like I was half contemplating on going up to the emergency room to that level. And I didn't know, I had no clue why. And I was sick for, I think it was about a week and a half that I was sick. And I mean, vomiting, like I experienced joint pain like I've never experienced. And talking to somebody that was rocking 713 pounds is still mobile. So, you know, but I can eat a pickle if that makes sense to you, and it doesn't affect me at all. So when you bring it down to that level, and before I did the carnivore diet, I used to eat cucumbers all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I thought in my mind that, hey, this is a good thing to eat. This is a vegetable and yada, yada, yada. But little do I know what I'm doing to myself. But you don't get to learn this kind of stuff without bringing it to this level. And it does kind of suck in the beginning. But like I say, you know, you bring it to that level and you start to introduce different things in, you can see what they do. And if it's okay, and if your body jives with it, your body jives with it. You know, if it doesn't, well, now you know. And so, but yeah, that's the awesome thing about, you know, doing that kind of thing and bringing it down to that level, excluding everything. And, you know, that's why I do it in the first place. Well, there's other reasons, but that's in my opinion, the way everybody should start the carnivore diet is that way, just so they could bring it down to that level and understand what their body can do and what their body can't do. Because just you are your own biggest tool. Knowledge is power. You know what I'm? The more you know, the better off you're going to be. The more you can help people. In that, in the you know, in the long run, you're going to kick ass and take names. You know, that's just, and nobody can say any different. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. You're eating the way that you are, and I bet you, you can feel the difference too.
Yeah, you would think just because I was just using. There's a spice I got at the grocery store. It's called the Meat Church. It's you know, it's pretty clean seasoning, and I was putting it on everything because it does give it flavor. And just removing that and going to the salt. And it could be because I'm using more salt than I've probably ever used in my life. I just feel so much better. And that's the only really change I've made lately is just removing that one relatively clean spice and replacing it with probably 25 or 30% more of the Redmond's real salt. And I don't miss it. I thought, oh man, I'm going to have to get used to this. You know, it's going to be a little bland on the palate. But just the opposite has happened. I feel like I want to put even more salt on there. I know, Brian, I know you go pretty good with the salt too, right?
I do. And it's funny because I salt my food quite a bit. But actually I've learned from Anthony about salting when I drink water more often. And I wasn't doing that before. And now like I'll put some salt in my mouth and then drink down some of the water. So I'm taking even more salt in now, and I've definitely noticed a difference, especially now with working out. I'm not having any issues with cramps or anything like that. I want to really quick go back to something that we were talking about though. We were talking about, you know, keeping it simple and 3 foods and that kind of stuff. And here's another point for that really emphasizes that. When you keep it simple, it's so much easier to stick with it, right? Like if you go into the carnivore diet, and I know a lot of people, they're worried. They're like, you know, carnivore diet sounds so restricting. But if you go into it and you try and eat a bunch of different foods, a lot of like chicken, pork, whatever, and making these different recipes that you see for carnivore and stuff, that's good later on, but not necessarily at the beginning, because if you're doing that, you're more likely to have issues with cravings. Yep. Have the issues with the cravings and then eat something that you shouldn't be eating. So that's another point why it's probably the best thing you can do to just pick a couple foods and stick with that early on. And then after you've been doing it for a while, then that's where maybe you can kind of start to look at some of the other things. But yeah, early on, I feel like there's so many people that struggle and they're trying to eat a big variety because they're worried about how restricting it is. And I think if they just try it, they'll find out it's not really that bad. Like, I granted, I'm a person that loves eating steak, but I mean, when I first started out, I think most of the time I wasn't even eating eggs. I was just eating steak or ground beef, and that was it. And it worked.
Well,
really well.
Well, you need to understand too. To me, the eating part of the carnivore diet isn't the obstacle that people need to worry about or to be concerned about. I would say 90% of this diet, would revolve around being psychological, addiction. Like that goes back to the whole addiction thing when it comes to eating the standard American diet. Because it really is. It's addicting as shit. And if you don't satiate, if you don't give your thinker up here, something to replace that by, you're sooner or later you're gonna doom yourself. And if you do the carnivore diet long enough, I don't give a damn who you are, you're gonna fall off the wagon. Like that's just the name of the game. It happens to everybody. Hell, it's happened to me quite a few times. But life goes on. You jump back on the train and you keep going. But a lot of it revolves around being psychological, and the addiction part of the little green man sitting on your shoulder saying, "Eat me." You know what I'm saying? I can't remember the chemical that's in your mind that or in your brain. Let me think here for a second. I can't remember, but there's a chemical in your brain that suggests
Dopamine?
that basically. No, it's not dopamine. No, it's not dopamine or anything like that. It's an actual chemical. Like a lot to do with me would be. I always thought I was hungry, and I always thought that I needed, something sweet or whatever the case might be, and I had to when I first started this, I'm going to tell you how I ate. I would eat 3 times a day. I would eat every meal to the point of being nauseous. Okay. And I would basically snack in between if I ate. I would eat to the point of damn near if I thought to myself, I'm going to throw up if I eat another bite. Now, the reason why I ate that is because I had to overwhelm my head, my brain, of the sensation of being full and being satiated. There's a chemical in your brain that tells you that. Well, anyway, I ate like that for as long as I could. I think if I remember right, it's been a long time, but I almost made it 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. And it come to a point, to a crossroad, to where I literally couldn't eat anymore. Like just the mere smell or sight of food made me nauseous. That's how strong it was. And then I fasted for 2 weeks, damn near 2 weeks. I didn't eat nothing. I drank a lot, but I didn't eat a damn thing. I just couldn't. And then when I finally did get hungry, that's when I started to eat Nomad just 1 time a day. And that's when I honed everything into a smaller spectrum of portion control, of what I'm eating, etc. Now that my body was at its baseline, I needed to keep it there. And that's when all the work started. And that's when, you know, I would fast for every single day and eat once a day. And then I would learn not to eat past a certain time so you could fast and all this kind of good stuff when the important times for fasting were coming in. That's when you learn all this kind of good stuff. And that's when you're able to hone in and to actually be able to get the maximum benefits out of things. And so, yeah. Cool stuff. But I can't remember what that chemical is. Maybe
Is it ghrelin?
Melanin or something like that. My head wants to say, but I just can't remember. Let me see here.
Well, Anthony, while you look that up, for me, the what you're talking about, the kind of the experimenting with eating and fasting and all that stuff, for me, that's been kind of the fun part of it. I'm at a point right now where I'm doing OMAD. I just eat one time a day. I usually eat sometime around lunchtime, between 12 and 2 o'clock. And for me,
leptin. Sorry,
leptin. Yeah, okay. Leptin and ghrelin are the two chemicals there. So for me, before I got on the carnivore way of eating, I thought about food incessantly. Like I thought about lunch as I was eating breakfast. And now it's really easy for me to fast because food is the furthest thing from my mind. I mean, it's 180-degree flip from where I was a couple of years ago before I started carnivore. And it's like it's freeing. You talk about restrictive. Well, this is freeing because I'm worried about my lawn. I play a little golf. I do my sprints. I exercise. I work 1,000,000 hours. I like to do things with my wife. And food never gets in the way. And, you know, and then the fact that I've got such a simplified way of eating, I use one frying pan and that is it. And then sometimes I use my air fryer, but sometimes I throw the steak in the bacon grease and put my little ribeye in the bacon grease. And so I can cook, eat, and clean up in 30 minutes. And that's it. That's all of my day that's taken up. Where before, you figure 2.5, 3 hours of your day between planning a meal, cooking, messing up all the dishes, getting all the ingredients, shopping, then doing all those dishes. You know, I mean, it's given me back so many hours a day of my life. And as I said earlier, I work almost 48 hours in between Friday and Monday. I'm a very busy person. And I mean, this is freeing. And the fact that I can play around and say, well, let me fast for 48 hours and see how I feel. About 2 weeks ago, I did what was going to be a 72-hour fast. But at the end of 72 hours, I wasn't the least bit concerned with food at all. I mean, nothing. And then about 5 hours later, I got hungry. So I ate me a couple eggs. And I think in the very near future, I'm going to go for a 100-hour fast. 96 hours is my record for fasting. Probably next week, I'm going to do a 100-hour fast, just, you know, because I want to. The 72-hour fast was so easy. It was almost, you know, it was too easy almost, you know. So I'm going to do the 100-hour fast and see how that goes. And that goes a long way in repairing your mitochondria, the autophagy that happens at the cellular level, the mitochondria. It renews. Yeah. After about 72 hours, you basically have a brand new immune system. And I'm around sick people. I'm a paramedic. I work on an ambulance. So I'm around sick people a lot. So anything I can do to strengthen my immune system and kind of experiment this whole N of one experiment thing, it's kind of fun. It's kind of neat to play around and see what you're capable of. You know, if you'd have told me 2 years ago that I was going to go 4 days without eating anything, I would have thought you were going to, you know, put me in prison or something. But now I was like, I can't wait to try that 100-hour fast. I'm looking forward to it. And so,
where's my homework?
Brian, do you do any fasting?
So not what I would consider fasting. It's OMAD, basically 1 meal a day. So yeah. I'm not eating for 24 hours, but I don't really consider it a fast unless it's more like 2-3 days or more. Right. So I haven't really done any of that. I may at some point, but I haven't yet. The longest I've fasted, I think, is like maybe 28, 30 hours, somewhere in there. I got a question for you, Johnny. When you fast, so when you talked about your longest was like a 96-hour fast, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong here, but it's a wet fast, so you're drinking water still?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. just water. And I'm real big on sparkling water. I bought my wife bought me a Soda Stream machine for Christmas, and of course it comes with the little flavorings. But I just grabbed some water out of my the filtered water in my refrigerator, and then I just put some CO. I'm out of CO2 right now, but I put some CO2 in here. So I have like 4 of these a day. This is a 1 liter bottle, so I have 4 liters of water a day, pretty much every day. Sometimes more if I work out. If I sweat a lot when I'm working out, I may pound a 5th one. But I haven't done the salt thing. Like Anthony was talking about putting salt in your mouth. I'll try it. Right now, I don't know how it would help me because I'm feeling amazing, but I'm not averse to trying that.
Well, you being a paramedic, a medical professional, can you think of why that I would have someone ingest it through their mouth, not put it into their water?
Quicker absorption.
No. When you think about salt, I don't think about it as just salt. I think about it as minerals.
Right.
Now, what's one of the most important probably minerals that are found in salt? Magnesium, sodium chloride, magnesium. Now, what is magnesium? Magnesium is a water-hungry, soluble thing. Now, when you put it into your mouth and let your body do its thing, the breakdown of the nutrients that are in the salt, when you ingest the water without it, and after it's broke down, it allows your body to, on a chemical level, to bring it into itself a lot easier, and on a molecular structure or level to be able to, with the mitochondria and all that kind of good stuff, and on a cell level to bring it in and to basically replace of what's going on. I think of a lot of the cells, like especially fat cells and stuff like that, as a little time capsules. Everybody's born with the same amount of fat cells. You don't get more fat cells or lose fat cells. The only thing that happens, they get bigger or they shrink. And so, that's just kind of some of the things that I've learned through my own research and on a medical professional level as well. That happens with your body, and it's pretty cool. If you go through and if you just add stuff into water, whatever the case might be, your body will have a hard time absorbing it. Will it absorb it? Yeah, but not nearly on the level of taking it orally and then drinking your water. You're kind of getting like the 50 times pow for your body. So it's a pretty cool thing to experience, and it's a noticeable difference. Like if you have cramps and stuff like that, and if you were to just drink, put salt in the water and drink it, chances are you're not going to see any difference. But if you take, the same amount of salt and ingest it orally, switch around in your mouth for a few seconds and then swallow it, then drink your water, you ain't going to have any cramps. And I don't know if you guys experienced that, but that's something that I can tell you right now for certain that has happened for me. I do it all the time, daily. And so, and it's on a noticeable difference. Matter of fact, I've upped my salt intake by 2,000 milligrams. And so, like, I'm going to ask you, Johnny, when you get somebody in the ambulance, if you give them a sodium chloride bag, how much sodium's in that bag?
0.9%.
Okay, how many milligrams would that be?
I have no idea. It's a 500 cc bag, and it's 0.9%. So I don't do the math. I don't know. I've never.
It's like almost 8,000 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about that, that should blow your absolute goddamn mind. And what I mean by that, if you were to go to tell a healthcare professional, your family doctor, hey doc, I just consumed, or I consume 8,000 milligrams of sodium, their job is going to drop to the floor, and I'm sure as shit, they're going to tell you're going to die. But if you go in to say, like if you make a call saying you're having a heart attack, what's some of the first shit that they do in an ambulance? They hook your ass up. They hook your ass right up to a sodium chloride, and they pump your ass right up. Well, if it's bad for you, why do they do that?
Exactly.
A little food for thought. So, like I say, common sense on this stuff goes a long ways, like a long ways, and just like with that being said, that should tell you guys a lot about the healthcare system, about what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And so, yeah, I don't want to jump in too much on that because I could ramble all day long about shit like that. So, yeah, what do you think about it there, Wickster?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, so I had AFib, right? And I was having this before Carnivore. So sometimes I was in AFib and I'd go into the ER and, they'd be like, look, you got to stay on this, this restricted diet where you're limiting your sodium and so forth. But the first thing they would do they'd hook you up to a bag because they say like your electrolytes are probably a little out of whack here. We need to improve that. So they are giving you sodium. And then when it's time, like if you I've had to stay overnight and so forth. And when it's time to order a meal, you can't get anything. You gotta get like the low sodium diet thing. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. It's crazy, but there's so many things that is wrong about what they tell you in the healthcare industry and what our hospitals have to do because of the guidelines and so forth. Johnny, you got something you're about to say?
I do. Well, Anthony, student be thy teacher. There is 9,000 milligrams of sodium. 9,000 milligrams of sodium in a 1 liter bag, the big bag, which usually in the pre-hospital setting, we use a lot of 500 cc bags, so it'd be 4,500. As soon as we get to the hospital, they take that off and put the big bag. So if you get the little bag and the big bag, you're getting 13,500 milligrams of sodium. And then they put you on, like Brian said, a low sodium diet. It is so.
And might I add to that right there to put it in perspective? You can give that in a bolus. Am I correct? You can give it in a bolus. Even if they put it into a machine, they could pump that shit into you in 15 minutes. That's a massive amount. For the average person to think. You corrected me. 9,000 milligrams. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so you guys draw your own conclusions and make your own decisions. But, I don't know if you guys have been asked this question. Well, I've been asked this so many times, it's ridiculous, but people will ask, well, how much salt is too much salt? Okay. Well, I don't know. But what I can tell you, when I eat something and if it tastes good and if it doesn't taste salty, I can put a little bit more goddamn salt on there. But when it comes to the point where salt starts to taste like salt, I stop it. To me, that's my body saying, hey, dude, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? There's times to where I don't even want the salt on my food. And there's other times where I swear to God, I just can't get enough of it. Like my son has come up to me sometimes, and he's a carnivore as well. And he'll sometimes sneak a bite of my steak when I'm doing something. And he'll almost goddamn cringe taking a bite of it like, Dad, oh my God, that's way too much salt. And it's like, I can't even taste it. You know what I'm saying? But he can. So he's different, than me. And so when I cook something, I cook it the way he wants it, not the way that I want it, with the salt or whatever the case might be. But, to me, that's there's no cookie cutter amount of it to use or to not use. It's just, what your body needs and what it doesn't need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because that's I mean, our bodies are much smarter than we give them credit for. If your son thinks it's too salty, then he doesn't need that much sodium. Me, with the red meat's real salt, I'm adding more to my eggs and more to my steak. I'm just keep adding more and more. And I'm at the point now I can finally taste it, because before I would put what I thought was a normal amount or a healthy amount. Now I'm just, which tells me I got to go buy the big bag of red mints, because I'm going through salt like crazy. And I just had my blood work done, back on May the 1st, I guess it was. And my sodium was the lowest it's ever been. And I'm eating more salt than I've ever eaten. And my kidney function, I don't remember what my EGFR, I don't remember my numbers, but I do remember that on my blood work, I've gone from stage 2 kidney failure back to stage 1 kidney failure and heading towards no kidney failure. I'm almost 60, so I'm the oldest of the group here, I'm sure. And yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing, you know, like Brian said, it's on this low sodium diet. And so everything I'm doing, which goes against the grain, the data suggests for me, for my body, I'm getting, my body's healing, more salt, more sunlight, you know, better sleep, everything I'm doing, more fat. I eat a lot of butter. I haven't eaten a lot lately because those ribeyes have a good bit of fat on them, but I'm not averse to eating a stick of butter. If I feel snacky towards the end of the day and I don't think I can go to the next day, I'll eat a half a stick of Kerrygold salted butter. I'm good to go. And I'm doing all of this. My cholesterol has come down. My HDL has gone up. My triglycerides are the lowest they've ever been. My A1C is 5.2. I mean, I'm doing everything that my previous doctor said was going to kill me. And it's almost 60 years old. I'm getting better and better and better. And I run 50-yard sprints pretty much every day. And I'm not the fastest, but I'm probably one of the fastest 58-year-old in my neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. Do you notice, like with your kidney function, stuff like that, if your EGFR goes up, you'll find that your creatinine level, BUN, will come down slightly? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's come down. That's what's come down is my creatine or creatinine and my BUN have both come down a pretty good bit. And that's where it showed me on the scale, you know, stage 2 kidney failure, which was what I was 7 months ago when I had my blood work done, to now I've gone from the stage 2 to stage 1, basically based on the BUN and creatinine.
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that kidney stuff to fix it. I mean, it is possible, but it's a real, you got to really work at it. It's not something that is not going to come overnight. It, you know, like I completely flabbergasted my doctor. But we did a lot of research, and you know, my previous nephrologist was trying to tell me, you know, this carnivore diet and stuff is really gonna kick my kidneys in the box per se, and that's just not the case by any means. There's many different kinds of protein, and you know what you're consuming and stuff is just on a different level versus when you go to a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, of what they're talking about. So yeah, the protein is basically your baseline fundamental building blocks of a human body. And so exactly. You know, think of meat in that perspective and you'll be just fine. And so yeah, I have fired more doctors than I can count. Like I've lost over 500 pounds, and can you imagine losing over 500 pounds, having deadly medical conditions on all levels, walking into a doctor's office and completing what I've completed, and your doctor telling you to stop doing the things that you've done to achieve this stuff because you're going to die. But when you're damn near a half a ton, they don't say a goddamn word to you about what you're eating. Just here, take this med, take that med, or you need this med and you need that med. Can you? And they try to tell you to stop doing this. Like, I honestly couldn't believe it. That's the first time I ever told the MD professional he was a fucking retard. sorry for my French, in that he had no business speaking to anybody on a medical level, because obviously you're not there to help the person. You're there on a different level. You don't. I don't know. I don't want to really get into that either, because that's something I feel very strongly about. I'm just going to say this and leave it at this. Just because you have a degree or a title of an MD does not make you smart or knowledgeable by any means. So I'll just leave that there and carry on with my day, because I don't want to be mean to anybody. So.
Well, most doctors don't really get any nutrition education, you know. The only ones that learn about nutrition are the ones that do the research themselves. They don't get it when they're going through
But
their degree.
they should. They really should.
They should. They should.
Because theoretically, you know, when you think about medical, that's kind of the first things that come to mind is your health and of what it involves. And if you're going to school and whatnot just to learn how to prescribe pills, then become a goddamn pharmacist, or you know, if that's what you want to deal with. But like the doctor I have now was virtually one of those doctors. Well, not quite the way, but when he's seeing the amount of weight that I was losing and how I was losing it and how I was flipping my health around, this man literally now sends me people that he is his patients to lose weight.
Wow.
Literally. And this dude was one of the most to the book kind of guys you would ever meet in your life. And now he's all for this. He doesn't question a lot of the things that I do. He'll ask questions about why I'm doing it, but if I give him a legitimate answer, he don't have a problem with anything. But this, you know, yeah, I'm just gonna stop.
That's great that you found someone like that, though, because that's hard to find out there.
It really is. It's hard to find, most definitely. And I hope everybody finds it.
When I'm seeing, because I watch YouTube, Carnivore YouTube and Carnivore Facebook posts and everything, and I'm starting to see, and this happened with you, Anthony, and it's happened with me, with my doctor. It seems like there's beginning to be, and I know it's very anecdotal and it's probably 0.001%, but I'm seeing more and more doctors waking up as they have patients walking through the door, and these patients are healing, and patients are losing weight and losing visceral fat, and their EGFR is getting better, and their triglycerides are dropping. More and more doctors, and I'm saying it's probably a very, very small percent, but at least the trend is there that doctors are starting to question, what they've been taught. Like my doctor told me he'd never even heard of the carnivore diet. I went there on March the 26th, did blood work, looked at me. I'm in AFib. I live in AFib. I'm in chronic AFib. I'm in AFib right now. I'm 58 years old. I have an artificial hip. I was, morbidly obese. I had really bad arthritis. I go back on, and I said, I'm going to get back strict carnivore. I'm going to do what I know works. I went back on May the 1st, and I had completely, between March 26th and May 1st, turned everything around. And my doctor, who's the same age as me and could probably use the carnivore diet himself, high-fived me. And he said, John, this is incredible. I showed him a video, one of my videos from my YouTube channel of one of my workouts. And he said, are you in AFib? I said, yeah. And he took my pulse. I said, I live in AFib. He said, you're in AFib and you can do all of that? I said, yes, sir. I said, did it right across the street at the park about 2 days ago. And he said he was going to look into it. He could not believe it. He said it defies medical logic that at my age, and even though I'm still obese, and I'm in AFib, and I have rapid ventricular response, which means my heart rate is way too high, and I can do all this stuff. And I said, well, it's the healing power of a proper human diet. So even my doctor has said, I'm going to look into this. And then you look at like Dr. Berry, obviously, I think to a degree, Dr. Kiltz, and some of the other doctors that found carnivore that are now in this space, even Dr. Philip Ovadia, the cardiothoracic surgeon, they all found this because they were inflamed, they were overweight, they were very sick. So
Toilet.
maybe doctors will get sick and find this as a way to heal themselves, and they'll understand at the individual level how this can be a tremendous part of their practice. How they can really help people as opposed to helping pharmaceutical giants. But I digress.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, though. There is a time and a place for prescriptions. There's a time and a place for, doctors that do that kind of thing. To me, doctors, that kind of thing, it should be a thing that is short-lived. It shouldn't be something that you live with for probably 90% of the things that people go into a doctor for. It should be, like I'll give you a perspective. I've been on a medication now I had built up tophi in my body, and I'm sure you know what it is, from gout and all that kind of good stuff. And mine was pretty extreme. And I never responded very well to getting rid of it. And I had such large amounts of tophi that I had to have it surgically removed, from my feet and all this kind of good stuff. And it made me not able to walk. And so they put me on a medication called Cristexa. Cristexa is not a medication to play around with. It's a biochemical, or not a chemical, but it's a biomedication, and it's pretty gnarly to say the least. On it for the longest time, and I started to build up an immunity to it. And I had to go into the emergency room and all that kind of good stuff here not too long ago because of it, and they had to take me off it, and all this kind of good stuff. Like there's a time and a place for this kind of stuff, and it's not something that, like I say, is to be extended or to be on for the rest of your life. To me, there's not a lot of things out there that should be like that. Is there some? Yes. Is it something that the majority of the public is going to see? No, it shouldn't be by any means. So I just wanted to clarify that there is a spot out there for, medications, all that kind of good stuff, but to the extent of it, to be determined, for each person, or what you need it for, whatever.
Yep.
What do you think?
Well, when it comes to medication, I agree. There's probably things that you might really realistically need medication for. I think that, and this is why when we were talking before about doctors really need education on nutrition, I think that what's really being missed is so much of our health has to do with what we're eating, and you can fix so many things just by eating the right foods. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like all beef or something, right?
Right.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, like everybody on the carnivore diet, and say, oh, I'm getting the best. Like earlier, I asked you guys, what is the best meat to consume? John, you said it was grass-fed beef. Huh? So why in the hell are you having enough conscience to look at what an animal is eating, and you're able to establish that is a more healthy way to eat, but you look at yourself and you don't do the same thing of what you're putting into your body? You know what I'm saying? So that just kind of blows my mind. You know what I'm saying? That somebody will pay more attention to what an animal eats and versus what you eat. Just blows my mind. And you wonder why you're sick. You wonder why, you're having relation problems, or if I'm going to be point with you, or you can't. I've helped people on this carnivore diet that literally give them their relationship back their sex life back, them being a dad, to their kids liking them again. I could tell you all day long about things that I have been told that is done for people that you would think you would only see on a damn movie. And it'll just blow your mind. And you would say to somebody like me, yeah, you're full of shit. It's like, dude, give it 1 month, man. Give it 1 month. Hell, don't even give it a month. Give it 2 weeks. Just give it 2 weeks. If you don't see improvement in your life, in your sleep, just how you are in general. Because I promise you, 3 years ago, I would not be sitting here talking to you guys. Not a chance in hell. I was the biggest prick on this planet. I was an asshole to people just to be an asshole because it made me feel good. Now, I don't want to be mean to people. I want to help people. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that in me anymore. I don't have, the purpose of going out and purposely ruining somebody's day just to make myself feel better. I don't need to do that. I'm happy as it is. And anybody that's known me previously, and if they see me now, they don't even know who I am anymore. And that's a good thing to me. It's given me a new life, a new perspective. And so, yeah, man. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I really truly believe that sugar is a powerful drug, and it messes with people's mind. And I definitely see that people that eat the standard diet where there's a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, they seem so much more angry out there and mean. You definitely see it if you just look out there. It's very interesting.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. Like especially like with my son, I have a lot more harder time noticing things with me just because I'm me, but I notice a lot more with my son, and then I reflect it onto me and I watch out for it for myself. I'll notice with my son, every now and then he'll treat himself, or I'll treat him to whatever, to something that we'll consider bad or whatever the case might be. And you can notice on his behavior a huge difference. And a lot of the times it's to me it's on an uncontrollable level, and that's where he'll get into trouble. He'll have a hard time focusing on things. He cannot stay on task. He can't sleep. None of that stuff. And all that stuff comes back into play. But when he's on the carnivore, he's fine. A completely healthy, normal kid, and he doesn't have those problems. So you tell me, like I say, I don't try to tell people bullshit information. I try to tell people the information that I experience, and what I experience is just what I tell. And a lot of people have a problem with that. So, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know Christy from the channel Meeting Wellness. She lives out in California. She has a son he's high school age. I don't know if he's a junior or senior, but he's dealt with some issues like that, staying on task and like ADHD or whatever. And so she talked with him about going on carnivore. She didn't push him. And she shared the story, so I'm not speaking out of school here. And he eventually said, yeah, I want to try it for a little while and see if it helps me with some of the things I'm dealing with. And it's turned him around. He is a completely different person. He used to have, if one thing went wrong, he would have a complete meltdown. And she said, now, none of that. And so her thought process, now I started to say her regret, but regret's not worth anything. Her thought process is, had I started him on this maybe a couple of years ago, where would he be now? Because academically, he's caught up a lot from where he should have been. Had they been able to realize this and start it maybe 2 years prior, he would probably be advanced. Pretty amazing young man. And Christy's an amazing human being. She's an amazing mom. But I mean, that's just one of probably 50 cases that we could point to. It's just amazing how we have this information now, and I have shared Carnivore on my Facebook. I've shared it with my family. I've shared it with my spouse. I've shared it with my parents. I've shared it with everybody, and they can look at me and see, one, I'm a much happier person. My mind is clear. And not only have I lost weight, but I don't limp. I mean, I'm just a completely different person. So I'm a living example that they can reach out and touch and talk and all. So I'm at the point now, I still pray for all my family and friends to get healthy. But at some point in time, I think being unhealthy becomes a choice. I have a guy that I work with, super nice guy. I love him to death, but he's morbidly obese. He's got problems with his knees, problems with his back, and he's wanting to retire, but he's not in a position where he can retire yet. His son went carnivore because his son was following in his dad's footsteps. Now, this guy's 62 years old, so his son's in his 40s. And again, morbidly obese, very inflamed. His son's been on carnivore for about 40 days, and he's lost 40 pounds. And all of his pain, all of his back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, it's all gone. The guy had a shoulder impingement, frozen shoulder. It went away. And so I keep talking to this guy. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to call him out, but he and I work together on the ambulance a lot, so we're right there together. And I said, well, when are you going to start? He says, well, we're trying to get everything ready. We're trying to get everything set up. We're getting everything ready. And I'm like, what are you trying to get ready? What are you trying to set up? This doesn't require a lot of setup. He said, well, I just don't want to give up my sweet tea. I love my sweet tea. And so he's choosing sweet tea over health. He's choosing to be inflamed and in pain. And, he struggles climbing in and out of the front seat of the ambulance. It's all he can do to get in and out. And he's choosing, because he sees me, he sees his son. I share all the videos with him. I share all the Facebook posts. I share everything I can. I'm trying to help the guy. But I think at some point in time, people actually make at least somewhat conscious decision to remain unhealthy because they don't want to give up whatever soda or sweet tea or honey buns. My thing is apple fritters and honey buns. If they didn't make those, I would never would have got fat. That's what I say. But I think people sometimes make now that they have the information, now that they can look at Anthony and look at Brian and look at Johnny and hear our story and hear our testimony, and they know this is possible because there's tens of thousands of us out here in YouTube world. It's almost like they're making a conscious decision to stay unhealthy. And that's sad. That's really sad because I think I want health and vitality and lack of pain and lack of inflammation more for people than they want that for themselves. And I try not to get discouraged. I still continue to try to encourage. But, at this point in time, I just wonder, are these people actually choosing to be in pain and inflamed and unhealthy? It's, because they have the data, they can see, one versus the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But have you guys noticed that like a lot of people that do carnivore, how do I put this? They'll put it down like in groups in a way that they claim is carnivore, but it's not carnivore, and it just sets people up basically for disaster. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that I see constantly. To me, there's very few influencers or people that do carnivore that you will see on Facebook that legitimately do the carnivore diet the way that it is intended to do. They always try to find a way around something than rather just doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some people, and this is going to be somewhat hypocritical of me because I've fallen off plan twice. This is my third go at it. Life got in the way and I made all these excuses, but I'm back on plan now. I'm doing well. But I see people, especially some YouTube influencers that are very popular, that I like, I respect, I love them to death. But I look at videos of them 2 years ago, a year ago, and last week, and I don't think they've lost an ounce. I don't, but yet they're in the carnivore community. They have a YouTube, they have a podcast, they have all this, and they're entertaining, and I love them. But when you don't see any change in their appearance or their health or whatever, and I'm being hypocritical that I'm throwing glass, rocks at my own glass house. It becomes like, are they here for the attention, for the eyes, for the clicks and the views? Or are they really trying to inspire others and help themselves? And if somebody's watching this and the shoe fits, I'm sorry, and I'm a hypocrite because I'm falling off planet on my way back home twice.
I wouldn't be sorry by any means. You're just saying nothing but the truth. The difference between you and them is that you have the balls to admit, hey, dude, this is what I've done. This is what this is what's happened to me. They're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to mention any names here because I ain't going to start that shit fest here on old Wickster's channel. I'll start it on mine, but not here. If Wickster gives me the green light to go ahead and do it, I'm more than willing to, and I don't care who it is. I can give you guys a little bit of insight on one of the biggest influencers for the carnivore diet. One of the biggest ones. And John was sitting there talking about people back a few years prior about losing weight and what they accomplished and what they haven't accomplished. Just, you go for the, I won't, like I said, mention names. You take the 4 biggest influencers you can think of, and you think about them, and you put that information right there. You plug it into your thinker, and you just go back 3 years, and you do a little bit of research on these people, and you see what they're really about, where they really come from. I have had people come to me and ask me to do interviews and talk with them and all this kind of stuff, and they'll be, oh, such and such is going to be on this interview as well. I don't fucking think so. I'm not being a part of it. Well, why? This is this person and that person. Exactly. That's exactly why. Well, you're going to have to be a little bit more, and I would tell them exactly what I just told you all. I'm not going to tell you guys how to feel about somebody or something. Like I said, information is the most powerful thing that you could have. And watch people for what they do and what they don't do, what they have accomplished and what they have accomplished. Me coming from for instance, me coming from 713 pounds, being that big for over a decade, you tend to pick up some habits and some things that you just do from being that big. And when somebody says that they come from a certain place and accomplished this weight loss, or have done this, or if you can get this weight loss by doing this, and that they don't have these things that they've picked up from being that big, or whatever element they have, you're full of shit. And to me, credibility is everything when it comes to something like this. How in the hell are you going to sit there and talk to somebody that was my size and expect them to believe you? You know what I'm saying? Or expect them to follow your lead, or expect them to do what you say. Because a lot of the things that you do on this carnivore diet, if you were to tell me to do this, like when I was consuming the standard American diet, I'd think you're goddamn crazy. Absolutely nuts. You want me to eat what? You want me to eat how much? Are you just trying to kill me? Like what's up? I'm doing a good enough job as it is. Are you just trying to make it happen? How are they going to trust you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And people don't look at the finer things of life, or they just want to see the easy way and just rock and roll with it. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, man, I could just go ham on that subject, but if Wickster ever gives me the green light on it, man, I'm willing to put on those 16-ounce gloves and just go rounds. And I promise you, I'll win. Like, like, so, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. So it's 9:30 and I gotta pick up my son.
Oh,
Yeah, we've been on for an hour and a half. And I gotta
Wow.
go pick up my son. So I don't know if you two want to keep talking
I didn't
or if we
notice it
could
was
just
that
end the
late
live
either.
stream.
I got to feed my kid.
I got
I
some
didn't
things I
know
need to
it
get
was
done.
that late.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to do my kid dinner. So, yeah.
All right. So we'll go ahead
Anthony,
and
thank you for joining us.
close it out here.
It's awesome
Yeah.
talking with you, gentlemen. It was fun.
Yep. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime. I don't know yet what our topic is going to be or anything next week, but Johnny and I will be back again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be back again then.
Awesome.
And I think we'll just call it so I can go get my son. Sorry. So
Hey, it's all
everybody,
good,
thanks
man.
for watching tonight.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.